Stay the fuck away, stay the fuck away. Stay the fuck away, stay the fuck away. Good evening, everyone. This week, we saw yet another video of another person shot by police. And this video raises far more questions than it answers. I hope that justice will be served. My virtual hugs and kisses are for Jacob Blake. So even if you've had your head in the sand for the last couple of months, you know that the hot topic round here is the return to school. Parents and teachers and students are rightly nervous. Hell, I'm nervous about this. And this has been shown through our media just like the lack of PPE for our frontline workers was at the onset of the icky. It's all we see. We all want a better setup for the return to school since the public education system has acted as cheap daycare to facilitate the creation of dual-income nuclear families, thus giving women a presence in the workforce. And we need as many workers as possible back at work to fix the economy. All hands on deck. But much like our phased reopening, nobody understands the proper protocols, nor do they actually have the funds to implement the recommendations put forth by any governmental branch. Now, when the outbreaks occurred in the long-term healthcare settings, the federal government respected provincial jurisdiction until the provinces demanded federal assistance. So the federal government decided to throw some more money at this issue before we have a rerun of that shit show. Wow, awesome. And this money is for safe education? No other strings? Amazing. But apparently, not everyone felt that way. On Wednesday, I got to kick it old school by watching the addresses of JT Creamy and Doug the Slug, which was all the ammunition I needed. After a decent, we're trying to keep people cool by giving another $2 million nationwide to the educational system on a fairly calculated per capita basis, which, yes, it's provincial jurisdiction, but it's on top of the $19 billion we've already injected, because it really looks and sounds like everybody needs more speech. The Prime Minister was verbally assaulted with stupidity. Education is provincial jurisdiction. Why not let them incur the debt? Are you suggesting that provincial plans are insufficient and inadequate? Bloody hell! They just popped by to offer a hand. Didn't expect the Spanish Inquisition. Aside from the fact that we're all in danger of drowning in debt, so it is best to spread it around a bit, y'all have been saying that the province's plans are insufficient and inadequate, loudly and repeatedly. That's why they did this now. Justin was also hammered over why now. Schools are about to open. In Quebec, some already have. No time to put in HVAC systems. Why didn't you do this sooner? Are you just campaigning here? Well, sure. This would make him look good if y'all weren't busy tearing him down for helping. Now just think for just a second. The provinces have been working on this issue, their issue. Everyone was still anxious. The feds gave $19 billion. The provinces kept working at return to school plans, and the public was still uncertain. It takes time to set things up and to figure out what is needed. So when all of that didn't work, the feds gave another $2 billion. And now suddenly they're bad guys? How dare you help protect the children? And then an idiot asked why we haven't secured any of the as yet non-existent vaccine, which we have, and the Prime Minister said so. Everyone knows they have. They announced their contracts weeks ago after the first time people were crying about us not having something that hadn't been created yet. And moving stupidly along, after Doug was done polishing Justin's apple, he was asked if Ontario truly does have the best plan in the country. Does it really need this money from the Fed? Why take it? Doug's answer was, why not? Yeah, even if we do have the best plan as compared to other provinces and territories, that doesn't mean it's perfect. Just spend 5 minutes watching the news instead of trying to pick fights and wasting everyone's time. The public clearly feels that more needs to be done. Minister Lecce was asked if his government was going to make a deadline for schools to notify parents of their reopening. Well, what kind of talk is that? What's the point? Is there some secret organization at work here keeping schools from informing parents? The schools are trying to get things going, but each one has its own unique problems to work out. And trust me when I say that contractors' timeframes are amorphous. And then what if a school doesn't meet this deadline? They have to do laps, write lines on the blackboard, sit in the comfy chair? Then Doug said something interesting. He said that some of the premiers felt that the feds were stepping on their toes. What? String free money for education? Who would do such a thing? Well, I failed to see how this could be true, so I went searching for these idiots to see what they had to say. Oddly, I couldn't find any reports of any of the premiers wanking. What I did find was an article from the Star published the day before the announcement. This article claims that several unnamed sources in the provincial government have said several stupid things. People will take the money. It is once again an announcement that the PM is making without any advance consultation or discussion with the provinces. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't ask people if they would like me to give them money before I do. Why would I? Who doesn't want money? Doesn't reacting to the public's demands show enough consultation? That's exactly what the government is supposed to do. Yeah. And the sentiment was echoed by a different unnamed provincial representative. At least one unnamed provincial representative said that a number of premiers are annoyed at Trudeau, who they see as once again putting on a show. Why would you say at least one? To make it seem like more, because if it was more than one, you would say that number. The source said that Trudeau wanted to be able to roll out the announcement Wednesday and tell Canadians he had a good conversation with the premiers about it and claimed they are all working together. Hey, do you guys want more money? Sure. Cool. What more is needed? Sounds like a good conversation to me. Another source brought up the timing, asking why they weren't told a month ago that the feds were going to do this. Maybe because it hadn't been decided yet? Maybe the feds were giving the provinces a chance to do their fucking jobs? So, what's really going on here? And the only references I found to this bitchy whining are Doug's speech and that article from the Star, which gets cited by other media outlets. The journalists clearly read this article and took it as gospel instead of doing any research before tying Justin to the rack. If there are premiers pissed off about this, why aren't they going public? Who are all these unnamed political sources? Why are they even allowed to have anything to do with politics when they clearly have the intellect of narcissistic 4-year-olds? This seems like media puffing up a situation like soft cushions to give the journalists something to pick fights over, which they did, and yet another good deed gets filthied. As I've said before, the government and the journalists are supposed to be working together to keep the people informed. If the government can't do exactly what the people are asking for without being crucified, and if the journalists can't ask for relevant information instead of just fighting, the system is broken. This is what creates the distrust that drives people to buy guns, hide in a shack, and scream about alien abductions and Pizzagate. This is why nobody believes public health officials but trust anyone else in a lab coat that gets retweeted by Trump. This divisiveness and inability to discuss and communicate rationally is going to keep all of our social issues swirling like an unsurvivable storm. Right now, the choice truly is between the economy and not just children and teachers' health, but that of the general public. It was worth risking idiots' lives to see what happens when we open bars. Is it worth doing the same test with our children's? Just stay the fuck away from each other and wash everything. A lot.